When you use the right tools, then trading becomes rather simple. In this trade, the setup was extremely clear and I was able to make a simple profit. Not because the profit was simple, but because the setup was clear. So let's go back to the beginning of this trade and let me explain you the setup. Today we are looking at the British pound versus the US dollar on the 1 hour time frame. We are using for this analysis three indicators: the breakout pivotal bars, the levels and zones, and the sentiment index down here at the bottom. The main setup will be made up by the breakout pivotal bars and the sentiment index, so just two indicators. The levels and zones is used for extra confirmation, for, I'd say in this case, for the macro analysis on this pair. If we have a look of what's going on, well, we can see that recently we had a very significant downtrend on the British pound versus US dollar. So this is something that we must understand. The pair is in a downtrend. Most recently it's moving sideways, but the macro view is a downtrend. Considering this movement, and in particular with our indicator, the levels and zones, we can see that we have a resistance up here and a support down here. So what I'm expecting, considering this downtrend, considering this sideways movement, what I'm expecting is the price to move around this area here. So I'm expecting it to continue to move sideways with some kind of an uptrend here. So I don't know whether the movement will go above our resistance up here, but definitely there is a very high probability that the price will go higher than the current level and keep moving within the resistance up here and the support down here. What I'm particularly interested in is this kind of setup. So we have an impulse here, okay, and then we have a consolidation here. As you can see here, we have a kind of a downward movement, but it was actually a false breakdown, because as you can see, the real consolidation is this one. This one here. Okay, this is the real consolidation. This was a false movement, and probably a lot of traders fall into this trap. But the idea is that we have an impulse, a consolidation, and so I'm looking for another impulse. I don't know whether it's coming, but the setup is almost there. As you can see down here in the sentiment index, the bullish sentiment is also decreasing, which is actually a good sign, because it means that the sentiment is following the price, it's moving along the price. So the price had an impulse, and so we see that the sentiment index, the bullish sentiment well, first of all, the bearish sentiment index improved, and then it turned bullish, and then we had a bullish sentiment increasing, then it kind of faded away, then it increased again, and then is fading away as well. But the point is that we also have a consolidation, so it is correct that this is going down. What I'm expecting is a break above this level here, this trend line here, as well as at the same time a break up of this trend line in the sentiment index. if we get this kind of setup, then we can place an order. And we have the setup. As you can see, the price broke above the trend line, our consolidation. Let me draw this better. Okay, it is now this one, but the point is that it broke above the trend line. At the same time, the sentiment index broke above the trend line. This is a pretty predictable setup, because I mean the sentiment index was so much compressed. It was pushed towards the bottom, towards the downside, and then it necessarily had to move impulsively like this, because there was too much pressure in the sentiment. And so we ultimately got our setup, and we can now place our trade. So we set our trade with an entry price around this level. The stop loss, I will say that I can confidently be pretty strict around this level. Typically I will place it below the consolidation, well, actually below here, but as we explained before, this was a false movement, so the real consolidation is this one, so technically we should place it around this level. But since I'm pretty confident that this is going to be a nice upward movement within the general idea that we explained before, so the price should move around this area, and it has room to move. So I'm expecting this to go up and not testing on the downside the stop loss. So I will keep the stop loss pretty close. And for the target, well, we just clone this length, and let's see where we end up to. So almost okay. So our risk reward ratio is more than 2.5x, so it's okay. I typically trade when the risk reward ratio is above 2. So in this case it's 2.66, which means that we could potentially lose the next 2 and something trades and still be profitable, if we get it to target, of course. So it's okay. I'm ready to enter in this order, and if the price moves up here, then I'm into the trade. So I'm into the trade. In the first few candles the price moved quite sideways within the stop loss, but then it went straight up. So it's okay. I'm not really neither happy nor concerned for this fast movement. It's typically what happens. Sometimes it's a bit slower, sometimes it's like a straight candle to the upside and you already reach the target. This is quite steep, so I don't know if it's continuing to go with this momentum, but if it goes, we will soon reach the target. Otherwise it might take some more time, but I'm still expecting to reach this level for this trade. Let's see what happens. So this is the typical trade that starts well and then it gets a little bit frustrating. Well, we got to the target, so we finally made the money, and the return was, as we discussed before, more than 2.5x, so it's great, perfect. But unfortunately we almost touched the target a couple of times, one here and another one here, and those times are the ones that become a little bit frustrating, because you feel like you have the trade and then the price starts to go against you, and you must accept this kind of situation. The market can always do whatever it wants whenever it wants, so you just give it a bit more time, and if your analysis is right, if your setup, you are confidently trading your setup, then you will know that you will eventually reach your target, just like we reached in this case. So it started well. It then got a little bit frustrating, but we got to the target. In the end, we got what we wanted, and that's the most important thing. What you should always remember is not to get emotional, because I mean, even myself, I got a little bit frustrated for this, but I definitely did not compromise the output of my trade for the fact that it almost got to the target and then it retraced. I just let it go and then it reached the target. So never put emotions into the trade. Thank you very much for watching. If you did like the video, be sure to give it a thumb up and subscribe to the channel if you didn't already. If you have any questions, feel free to ask down below, and see you guys in the next video.